Hello, my name is Tosi, and today I want to tell you about what to expect on a week-long intensive therapy retreat. So I'll start out with the logistics. An intensive therapy retreat could be anywhere from 3 days to 5 days. Every once in a while, someone will do a 2-week-long retreat. And we could meet for days, full days, or we could meet for half days. So if we're meeting for a full day, we would generally start at 9 a.m. and wrap up at 4 p.m. Or we would start the day at 10 a.m. and end at 5 p.m. We might also do half days, which would be a full morning, 9 to 12, or an afternoon, 1 to 4, or something along those lines. There'll be breaks throughout the day. I know you might be thinking, wow, that sounds like a lot of therapy, but it gets broken up and it can make it feel much more tolerable. So there'll generally be a 15-minute break halfway through our morning together. So say we were meeting from 9 to 12, we would take a break around 10:30, give or take, kind of at a natural stopping point in our conversation or our work. And then we'd come back from the break and have another about hour and a half long session. And then we would do an hour-long lunch break from around 12 to 1. And then same thing in the afternoon, you'd be back at 1. We would take a break. We would work together for 90 minutes and then take a break around 2:30 or so, and then keep going till 4. So this really breaks down the day into 90-minute or hour and 15 long sessions. It makes it feel a lot more kind of doable, and on your breaks you're free to roam about. My office is located in a lovely part of East Hampton, Massachusetts, where we have the beautiful Mount Tom nearby in our landscape, so you can walk along the streets. There's a nice bike path, a walking path that you could go on, a pond nearby that you could walk along to kind of recenter and settle. We also have a break room area and a little kitchenette. So if you prefer to bring your own snacks or a pre-made lunch, you could keep it in the fridge, reheat it in the microwave, make some tea with the hot water kettle, and sit back in the break room and rest your eyes or read a book or work on an art project or something like that. And there's plenty of cafes nearby and little eateries and little boutique shops and things like that. So plenty of options if you don't bring a pre-made lunch, that you can go out and grab a snack or a meal. And of course, you can always take additional breaks as you need them. I want you to listen to your body and have your body be supported and your energy remain as much as possible in that place of being calm and yet engaged at the same time. So I always encourage you, if you need to take a breather, if you want to get up and move around or use the bathroom outside of those breaks, you're welcome to do that. So that's a general day-to-day flow. Now I want to tell you a bit about what to expect on the various days of the retreat experience. So the first day is a little different than the remaining days. The first day is really the getting to know you day. So generally I will ask you a lot of questions, get a sense of what brought you to the intensive therapy retreat at this time in your life, what you feel maybe is holding you back or burdening you, what your goals are for the future. And it's okay if you don't know those things yet. That's something that we can figure out together. I forgot to mention, we generally would do an intake call before any of this happened. And so that will be an hour-long conversation that we would have via video chat, and we would already kind of have a sense of the basics of what you wanted to work on and make sure that the retreat seemed like a good fit for you at this time before you actually got to this point of sitting in the office with me and having signed up for it. So we would build on that intake, and I would get to know you more, get a sense of where you're at and how I can help you. And not only the things that have been challenging in your life, but also what your strengths are, what your resources are. And I would say that this is probably the most similar to your traditional talk therapy, what we're doing together on the first morning. And usually by the afternoon, so when you come back from your lunch break, I'll have had a sense from our morning conversation of the basics of what's going on for you, and how the tools that I have can support you in your healing journey. I will reflect back to you what I think I've learned about you through our initial conversation, and I'll also provide you a tentative treatment plan. So I'll give you a clear idea of how I think we should spend the rest of our time together. And together we'll review that treatment plan. I definitely want to incorporate my clients' sense of self, their own innate sense of self-knowledge. And so we might, tweak that plan a bit based off of what you know about yourself and how you want to spend the time. And it's a very personalized individual plan. So we will then begin working on that plan. And although it's personalized to you, there's kind of some basic kind of building blocks of it that look pretty similar for most folks. Generally, this is still on the first day. If the treatment plan is feeling good, we will then begin building some coping skills. And these are tools, inner resources, outer resources, support network type things that can help to remind you of your sense of being safe, of your sense that the trauma is really over now, and your sense of being loved and belonging. And for many complex trauma survivors, it may be hard to connect with those ideas. And so the work is really starting. The work has really been going on throughout this morning, building trust together. Now in the afternoon, we're starting to get to the root issues. And so the coping skills are beyond just kind of feel-good coping methods. They are healing in their own right. And so we'll help to develop your neural networking around your strengths. And that's going to support us through the next step in your treatment plan, which might look different on a case-by-case basis. For EMDR, we might be working on developing your safe space visualization, your container that can hold the memories until we want to get to them, connect you with secure attachment figures or resources or strengths from within. And I will also usually provide education during this phase of our work together. So I'll tell you about trauma, I'll teach you about your nervous system, I will teach you about the different healing modalities we've been using, and that's on an as-needed basis. Some people come in very well informed about those things already, and so if it's needed, we can spend time with that as well. If your plan includes doing memory reprocessing methods together, which could be a variety of modalities. EMDR is one method that we might use. We may also use progressive counting. We might also use the flash technique. These are, different ways to work on memories and desensitize them, integrate them, make meaning of them. And if you're going to be doing one of those methods with me, then usually by the end of the first day, we'll do what I call a test run memory. So with this test run memory, I would say it's a lower stakes kind of memory, a memory that's not as big of a deal. So not one of your core traumas or most difficult life experiences, something like the dog chewed your slipper or you got cut off in traffic and it was really aggravating. Something that has a little charge to it, but it's not full-blown trauma. And we would use that memory as a way to help you and your system learn how the memory reprocessing works. And this is a great way to kind of build confidence in the method. There's usually a bit like of a learning curve. It usually feels a little awkward and clunky with some stopping and starting moments when first learning. So I like to do that on a lower stakes memory so it doesn't feel like we're doing that with like a more sensitive memory that maybe it deserves more care and focus. And then when you've done that process, you can decide, okay, does this work for me? For most folks, it does work on them, but they get to decide, is this something that I would want to do with those more challenging memories? So there's always choices throughout the process, and then you have a sense of being informed and choosing to go into the next memories on your list. At the end of the first day, I will offer time for you to give me feedback about how the day has gone and my style. And yeah, we have a lot of time together, a whole day, but it's all like in a short period of time. So anything that you can do to help me get up to speed on your needs, it's not your job to make me a better therapist, but I do want to support you the best I can and have the time work for you. So I like to make time for constructive feedback, anything that didn't go so well that we could tweak and I could do better the next day. I'm always open ears about that. And we will also talk about how the day was and what you're getting out of it so far, and talk about our plan for the rest of the week. I'll usually give you some strategies or tools or things that you could do in the in-between time in case you need them. So the retreat is not held like in a facility or like kind of spa-like building. It's held in an office building where I have a private practice. So you would generally go home or to your hotel at the end of the day, and then your evenings, your time is up to you how you want to spend that. For the remainder of our days together, we really get into the meat and potatoes, or the tofu and carrots if you prefer, of the treatment plan that we created together. So for many folks, this is going to look like working on their trauma and loss memories. And working through these hard things, we can do it in a few different ways. Some folks, we will work chronologically, which is a very thorough method. So we would start with their earliest life experiences and move forward in time. Other times we might zoom in on particular issues that really are kind of at the forefront of their awareness. So it might be a particular set of memories, or it may be a symptom that's really burdening them, that we want to zoom in on memories that might be feeding into that. So the overarching idea is that many of the symptoms that clients come to therapy for, such as anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, are rooted in past experiences. For example, maybe anxiety, while it is a present moment experience of feeling, unsafe or panicky or tense in their body, there's maybe a belief in there as well, like something bad is going to happen, or I can't trust these people if it's social anxiety. And if we kind of uncover this and let our mind trace back in time, we might find memories where our body had learned to feel that way around others, or where we had learned that belief that something bad is going to happen. And I would help you identify what those memories were. Then we would use EMDR, progressive counting, flash to integrate the root cause of these symptoms, integrate the trauma, and help it move through your nervous system. And I have another video on what to expect in EMDR therapy. If you'd like to, feel free to navigate over to that. A lot of the times I will braid EMDR or the memory reprocessing methods with other modalities that I have to offer. namely somatic psychology or IFS-inspired parts work. And these are ways to bring your whole self into the process. Say there's a stuck feeling in your body associated with a memory. Maybe, you're dealing with depression and your body feels very collapsed and defeated. There might be things that we can do on the somatic level to kind of open up your body, tend to that collapsed and kind of surrendering feeling. Or maybe there's things in parts work that could help us facilitate the process. And for some folks, we may, as their treatment plan, really focus in on the parts work before we get into memory reprocessing. The idea is that we all have different parts of ourselves. For example, on one hand, I really want to go to the party, I want to make new friends, be seen, be part of the world, but on the other hand, I don't feel safe doing that. I know I'm gonna feel uncomfortable, or people might judge me, so I'll just stay at home and I'll play it safe and I'll watch Netflix and be relaxed. So with that, you can see there's 3 different parts. There's the part that wants to connect, the part that doesn't feel safe connecting, and then another part that is of managing that unsafe feeling by lowering the risk and keeping things cool with it. And these parts might all be in conflict with each other, and this can be a root cause of a lot of stuck feelings. And this can come up sometimes with even the retreat or experience or your therapy. Like on one hand, you want to come in and process this stuff. You think talking about it will be healing and helpful. But on the other hand, maybe there's other parts of you that don't feel ready for that for some reason. Or maybe you're feeling kind of disconnected from it. You can't quite access those feelings. It's almost like a fog or some dissociation around it. Or maybe there's a part of you that feels kind of overwhelmed about getting into it. Or maybe thinking, even though I have all these symptoms, no, the trauma wasn't really a big deal. I'm over it now. So kind of like a minimizing type of part. And all of these parts of us are completely valid. Sometimes we might not feel that way. We might get kind of locked into a battle of wills with them and feel frustrated, but the parts are there to protect you. And they've usually been doing their job for a long time, keeping you as safe as possible. And so in this case, if there are these dissociative aspects or kind of a sense of wanting to go a bit slower getting into the memory reprocessing, we might focus in on doing the parts work, kind of befriending these different protectors and getting to know how they came around, and eventually maybe getting their permission to go kind of around the walls that they've built, or they might break their walls down and we might access the wounds that they were blocking out. And regardless of what path we take forward through your retreat, I'm always going to be keeping a caring eye on how you're doing. And my ideal is that you're feeling engaged with the work, and that you're kind of in that Goldilocks sweet spot where you feel like you're calm, you're receptive, you're taking it in, it's helpful, but you're also, alert and interactive with the process, and it feels supportive, and there's some level of excitement, even if it is challenging sometimes. And it is normal for the retreat to stir up challenging feelings. So sometimes things might feel a little bit worse throughout the day as they feel before they feel better. So I like to really be watching out for that and taking care if that happens. There's many things that we can do to regulate you, to help you get back to a sense of safety if you are feeling overwhelmed. So I'll be teaching you strategies, and we'll be practicing those strategies together all throughout our time, which is healing in its own right. These are tools that you can then bring with you into your world beyond the retreat. The tools are often based in regulating your nervous system through somatic psychology, trauma-informed yoga perhaps, or some polyvagal techniques. And they're always optional, and there's always different ways to do that. So we'll kind of tweak and figure out like what works best for you. And at the end of each day, whether we're doing memory, reprocessing, parts work, somatic psych, or some combo of them, we'll take some time to reflect on what you learned from the day to kind of bring those lessons home with you. And again, I'll offer feedback for you if you offer you some time for feedback if there's anything that we want to tweak about the plan, and personalize the process even more for you. And eventually every retreat gets to its last day, which is always a bittersweet experience. Usually we're feeling very close by then, and it's hard to say goodbye, but sometimes folks are feeling really proud of what they've accomplished and also looking forward to going home, or looking forward to taking a rest after working so hard and diligently for the week. So each day that we're together is about 6 hours of therapy when you take out the breaks. And since we're not doing as much hello and goodbye time as you would do in an hourly format, you can really say that each day you're getting like 2 months worth of therapy out of it. And so you might have lots of learnings that have come in. So we definitely want to make time at the end of the retreat to integrate all of that and help reinforce it. Well, by the end of the last day, some people are feeling really a sense of completion and like they got what they needed completely out of the retreat, and they're ready to go out into the world without therapy for a bit. I can give you a story of somebody who was coming in feeling very depressed on day one. She was, around retirement age and was planning, and her kids had grown up and moved out. She was feeling kind of lost and like, what is my purpose in life? Kind of feeling like some depression or listlessness. And we were able to work on memories where she had felt like invisible, and like other people's needs always came before hers. And we processed all those memories until they weren't distressing to her anymore. And by the end of the week, on Friday, she was like a whole new woman coming in. I saw her with some more kind of pep in her step, and she came on in and she sat across from me, and she's like, "You'll never believe it. On my way into the office, I was jamming out to some music. I could really hear myself like singing along. I was shouting it out. I was feeling kind of like the chills all over my body from the music. I haven't felt this alive in so long." And she was feeling like she was taking up space now. She wasn't invisible. She felt so much more aware of the things she had accomplished in her career, more connected to her role as a grandmother, and the kind of little more distantness that she would have from her kids was now more time for her to develop her own interests. So she felt a totally new relationship to this phase in her life. And that was really lovely to see and to be a part of. And so for a client like that, which does happen, sometimes people are kind of on cloud nine after the retreat, we worked on further developing those strengths that she had connected with, and then also addressing future concerns that she would have around if those symptoms of depression started to creep back in, how she would manage that. And that way she's prepared and able to go out into the world with a sense of a plan. Sometimes for others, we worked on a major piece of their work, but they might have more trauma processing to do. I'm thinking of a client who had a complex trauma history where neither of her caregivers were able to show up for her the way that she had hoped, and that there was also sexual abuse in her history and some intimate partner violence as well. And with that client, we really focused in on the sexual violence that she had experienced, because that was really where she was feeling unsafe in her body now, even though she was in a safe space and in a healthy relationship. And for her, we didn't get through all of her work, but she was able to walk out and feel much more a sense of, I'm feeling a lot more aware of the safety that I do have in my current relationship. And I'm wanting to continue working on the experiences that I had with my caregivers, with past partners, and she was going to seek out some ongoing EMDR therapy in her neighborhood, and I gave her some recommendations on how to find that, and some other options for how to keep her work going. So with somebody who's more in that kind of category where we don't get through all the work, on the last day we definitely want to make sure that you leave with a plan in hand, and that we also focus on future concerns and how to keep the work going when you leave. So that's what you can expect during a week with me. If you have more questions or this sounds interesting to you and you want to discuss further, I would be happy to hop on an intake call with you. Feel free to reach out and we can set up a time to talk about your more individualized circumstances and see if it feels like a good fit for you at this time. Thank you and take care.